My name is Chief Amachi, Apeto Buaru. Today I have a very special message for those of you out there that are listening. In my last videos, I've talked about abilities, spiritual abilities that many of you have. However, many of you have not received a proper introduction to your own abilities. And what I mean by that is that in the indigenous African and indigenous American and indigenous Southern Americans, in different indigenous lands around the world, there are spiritual teachings that were responsible for creating the cultural identity and foundation for many of the societies that a lot of you look up to. You see, many of you have studied these societies, you've studied these communities, these ancient cultures and civilizations. You've studied their accomplishments, but you haven't truly studied their interior perspectives on spirituality, reality, even the world that you live in. You've been given an explanation by those who exist on the outside. They're from an exterior perspective. There are some lecturers, I believe one of them is Diop's. He talks about cultural invariance, which he describes, Shekende Diop's, I believe, from Senegal. He talks about cultural invariance. And that is the inability for an exterior culture to explain the interior psychological dynamics of a particular group, simply based on the idea that what you observe from the exterior is much different than what is actually in the minds of the individuals of an interior collective. So with that being said, many of you have only heard about your abilities, and the explanations that you have been given have primarily been based off of monotheistic concepts, or concepts that are foreign to you. There are traditional or indigenous African or indigenous American teachings that explain your abilities in ways that may surprise you. You see, your abilities, your intuitive knowledge, or your visceral cognitive abilities, your gut awareness, that intuitive aspect of you, those of you who have certain gifts that have been passed down to you, that have traveled through your family line. Many people have never explained what these things are. And as I've had some interesting conversations as of late, it's come to my attention that there are things that I need to speak about when it comes to what's happening in the world today. And what my people told me when I was in my shrines and I was talking to my people, they said instead of talking about that, they said that I should show you something. So they told me to tell you that those of you who have these gifts and these abilities, these abilities and gifts that have been labeled as spiritual or supernatural. And you've seen these gifts as they move through family members that exist within your bloodline. And in previous videos, I've spoken about the star, the Nollywood, your connection to nature, and how these gifts are really, it is you. But they are parts of you that have their own identity. Not just the identity as aspects of your own personality, but their own identity as identity in nature. And I told you that many of you must reconnect to nature. And that you have, and by reconnecting to nature, that you're going to understand those gifts that you have or that have been in your family. You'll understand them better, because the real home of those gifts is not what you've been told. So what they told me to show you is that they said that I can come here and I can talk. And I could be like everyone else and just give you some explanations about why things are the way they are. But they said what would be better is for me to show you. So they said that those of you, and you know who you are, that you should gather some water. It could be tap water or spring water, any water that you want. You're gonna take this water, you're gonna walk outside of your door, your front door, and you're gonna pour the water very slowly on the ground. And you're gonna call on your ancestors, and you're gonna call on the gods of your ancestors. And you're gonna ask those gifts that have been with you, that have given you guidance, that have given you the ability to see or to know or to feel certain things throughout your life, that have given you guidance. People call it your gut feeling, this visceral identity that's inside of you that would speak to you and give you guidance. You're gonna ask, as you're pouring this water, that they introduce themselves to you. Not just as their abilities or their gifts, but then they introduce themselves to you. That in your dreams, that they should come to you and give you guidance and reconnect you to your ancestral powers. You should tell them to connect you to the strongest ancestors that exist within your bloodline. That your ancestors should go and collect those people, and they should go collect the gods of their ancestors, and they should bring them to you and guide you and give you wisdom and protection and safety. Those of you who do this, we'll have a conversation. And as you're pouring this water and it's falling, you'll say these things, and then you'll just stop pouring the water. You could go back in your house and then go to sleep. For women, you'll repeat this process for 4 days. Men, you'll repeat it for 3. And you'll promise them that when they come to give you guidance or they show themselves in your dreams, that you will come back and you will pour more water for them. Or you'll pour milk for them. This is the first one they told me to give you. There'll be more.